Hello, everybody. Today we're going to begin work on our bridge project on Tinkercad. To do this, we want to walk you through some steps to get the basics started. We're not going to go too far today. We're going to do a little bit more next week, but we wanted to get the basics started. Make sure you've also read the truss reading and answered the questions and watched the video on trusses. That will be important next time we start to work on our bridges. All right, so to start this out, you're going to click into Tinkercad. And with that, you should be in your dashboard or the home screen or whatever you want to call it. What we're going to start by doing is creating a new design. So what you want to do is you want to start by clicking on this button, Create New Design. That will open up a new work plane for you, like we have right here. Now, when we start, the first thing we want to do is change our file name. The file name is located up here in the top left, and they give you some silly name to work with. We're going to change that to ours, and it's really simple. You're just going to click on that, you can backspace it away, and what I'd like you to put in there is your last name, then bridge, then remote. If we click aside, we now have our file renamed, and from here it auto saves. Now, the next thing we want to do is we're going to work in this work plane. Right now, this work plane is a little bit small for what we're going to need. So we're going to go over here to Edit Grid. Look, it's over here towards the bottom right of the screen. We're going to click on that, and it's going to bring a window up for us. Now, we want to stay in millimeters for our units. Our bridges are going to be in millimeters, and that's how we're going to explain them to you. So you want to make sure you're leaving that in the metric system in millimeters. Then we're going to change the width of the work plane. We're going to change it from 200 to 304, which is just about a foot. And then we're going to change the length to 304 as well. Then click on Update Grid. Now we have a much bigger work plane to work with. Once you've accomplished that, the next step is to start to use the ruler tool. The ruler tool is towards the top right of your screen. You can see my finger pointing to it right now. And with that, we're going to left click on that, whether you be using a touchpad on your Chromebook or if you have a mouse hooked up. You're going to left click and hold, and then you're going to drag that over towards the left side of the work plane. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly where mine is. All right, this is just a tool that's going to allow us to work in this space. When we look at this, we have our x-axis and a y-axis that we're going to work with, and I'm sure you guys know about that from math class. Once we have our ruler in place, then we can start to create the bottom beam of the bridge. This is going to be the part that goes across the entire bottom of the bridge and what everything else is going to attach to. To do that, we're going to go over to Box. So when we're over here, we see the red box. We're going to click and hold and then drag over and release, and it creates the box. Now, the nice part of having the ruler here is it gives us all our important measurements that we're going to need to work with when we're using Tinkercad. We have our length, we have our width, we have our height. You'll also notice when I put my arrow over those, it turns the arrow for the dimension red as well as the number we're going to be working with. It also gives us our x-axis and how far we are away from the center, and our y-axis. This center is our 0, 0 point. So let's create our base of the bridge, our bottom beam. To do that, we're going to click on the length first. We're going to change this to the bridge length, which is 225. And this is something we're going to stay with in our design. All your bridges have to be 225 millimeters long. Now, we can't see this whole thing, so we can go up and click on this triangle to get rid of that drop down. Then I always like to click off to the side before I click on it to move it. That just keeps us from mistakenly going over and grabbing one of the points by accident and clicking on it and changing the size. If that happens, just go to your back arrow and it fixes it for you. So now we have our length. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our width. The width in this case is going to be 5 millimeters. So just type in 5 and hit enter. And then the last thing we need to do is get the height. Our plywood that we're going to be using is 3 millimeters high. So we're just going to add 3. Put 3 there. Now this is the base or the bottom beam of our bridge. After we have the bottom beam created, we want to zero it up with our ruler. We want to bring it to 0, 0 on our XY axis. To do that, we have these bottom points. All right, our x-axis number, and you can see there's this little green area here, and when I put my pointer over it, it turns it red, and we have our y-axis in green there, and the same thing happens. So we'll start with our x-axis first. We're going to click on that and change that to 0, and you see how it slid it over. Then we want to bring this part down to 0. We're going to click on that, type in 0, and now it's at the 0 point. So we're lined up with the ruler. After we have the bottom beam done, we're going to create a vertical beam for the bridge as well. To do that, we're going to grab another box, drag it over like we did before, holding down the left button, letting it go to place it where we want it. Now, with this time, this is going to be a vertical member of the bridge. And with that, we're going to start by working with our width to create that vertical on our flat surface here. This is going to become 60, which is going to be the height the bridge is going to be. After we get done with the 60, then we're going to go to the length, which in this case is going to be 5, and the height, which will remain as 3. And then we have a vertical beam for our bridge. We're going to create a few more of these in the next lesson. But if you get this much done and it's saved in Tinkercad, you're on track and you're doing a good job. Please make sure you get this done. When you also make sure you've done the other part, the reading with the questions, that's important. And if you've missed some of those other assignments, please try to go back and make those up as well. Thank you. Have a great day.